Welcome back. It's a terrific Tuesday, and Tuesday gets even more terrific when we're joined by this guy. Rich Valdes joins us today in studio. He is the host of the This Is America podcast. He's also a producer on the Mark Levin radio show, heard nationally every night. And he's also, if I can have a hand in it, considering highly making AOC bartend again by running against her for that congressional seat. Rich Valdes joins us. As usual, our good friend is here. How are you, my man? How's everything?
Hello, sir.
Thanks for joining us today. So, lots going on. The impeachment, I guess, is, running things roughshod right now. We have 4 of the Democratic candidates planted in their seats in the Senate. Joe Biden's running roughshod out there. And at the same time, Bernie and Bloomberg are surging in the polls. What's happening here?
Well, I mean, this is Biden's to lose. So, of course, there's going to be some growth with Bernie. There's going to be some growth with Bloomberg. The real person that's actually growing is Bernie. He's actually making inroads. He's selling socialism hard sell for socialism in Iowa. And he's getting some takers. Bloomberg is stealing the election, buying the election, bombarding people with the barrage of ads and providing no substance, and he's not being tested on the debate stage.
It's not the first time that Bloombergito has, or Mini Mike as the president calls it, it's not the first time he's bought an election. For those of you nationwide who weren't aware of this, but mayors in New York were supposed to have 2 terms. The people voted through referendum for 2 terms. Mike Bloombergito went out there and used his philanthropical arm and sprinkled a bunch of money around to get himself a 3rd term. So that's what he thought about, the people's democracy here.
Yeah.
So maybe he fits over there in Iowa with
And just to switch gears a little bit, and sorry to interrupt you, John, but when you mentioned his philanthropic arm, I mean, this is exactly what he did in Virginia with this big gun debate. I mean, people aren't putting enough of that on him. He funded every last bit of those bills to change the amount of ammo that you could have in a magazine. So I think Bloomberg's used to getting his way and buying his way into something, and that's something somewhat of a cautionary tale, I'd say.
Frankie, what are your thoughts on Bernie? Why is Bernie all of a sudden surging? The Elizabeth Warren folks chipping off to Bernie?
Well, I think that's a big part of it. I think I don't think the Sanders support from 2016 really went anywhere. I mean, it looked like Elizabeth Warren was making a little bit of inroads, but I think now that you're seeing among the hard left, Bernie Sanders being viewed as the candidate that's more likely to win, a lot of those Warren folks are returning home to Bernie Sanders, especially a lot of people that might have had hesitancy or questions about his health setbacks. They now seem to be answered because Bernie seems as energetic as ever. And I still think, and tell me if you disagree, Rich, but there's this lingering resentment among Sanders supporters about the perception, and I would argue the reality, that he was actually cheated out of the nomination back in 2016. And unlike the supporters of, say, Pete Buttigieg, Joe Biden, and some of the other candidates, the supporters of Sanders, maybe because of what happened in 2016, they don't seem willing to support any Democrat against Trump. They seem pretty much determined to be Bernie or bust.
No question, the Bernie bros are kicking butts and taking names. He did get robbed. Hillary robbed him in 2016. And these guys are
and the DNC.
She was de facto the DNC.
Yeah, I mean, she was Debbie Wasserman Schultz was her proxy, basically, who was in there, and it's factual that they were keeping the database from Bernie, and they were carving it into pieces and handing it to Hillary on a silver platter, and then she took all the phones they had that data on, and she smashed them with hammers. So,
bleach bit.
Yeah, bleach bitting them. But, Rich, also, Elizabeth Warren seems to have jumped the shark, like, in old Happy Days when the Fonz jumped the shark. Looks like it's over for her. Yeah. She's, falling like a rock at this point.
So a couple of weeks back, maybe 6 weeks ago, there was some analysis that said Elizabeth Warren had the potential to lose 38 states. And this came after she said that, she kind of launched this attack on capitalism. I think Wall Street said, oh, hold up a second. We've got to pull out of this. So they did. And that caused quite a bit of a shakeup with potential funders and donors down the road. So I think she's going to continue to crash and burn. I think you're going to see Sanders rise up. He's going to continue to rise up. And it'll probably be a showdown between Bernie and
Biden.
Well,
so let me ask you about that. Let's say Bernie wins in Iowa, as polls project him to. Let's say he then wins in New Hampshire, as polls project him to. It looks like it's going to be tough for anybody to beat Biden in South Carolina. Bloomberg is banking everything on Super Tuesday. He's now at 12%, double where Mayor Pete is in the national polls. I can't think of a candidate within the Democratic primary that's as different from Bernie Sanders than Mike Bloomberg. Those two seem to be the ones that will have the either momentum in the case of Bernie or the money in the case of Bloomberg to go the distance. Do you think we'll see a Bloomberg versus Bernie clash going forward towards the convention?
I guess you could call it my own naivete or my own negativity, but I do not think Bloomberg's got a shot. I really do think that we're in a different political climate than we were many years ago, at least 4 years ago, and I think the American people are eyes wide open, and they look at this guy and they're like, you're part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Well, I think you're right in terms of how he's perceived, and it's very interesting now. All these candidates that went through this debate criteria where you have to have this number in polling, this number of donors, now Amy Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren and others, they're lobbying the DNC to change their criteria so that Bloomberg can participate in the debates, so that they can challenge him, because now he kind of gets to be above it all. And he's just seeing his poll numbers rise.
Which is a rare place for him to be above it all.
That's very funny. Way to stay above the fray there, John.
Yeah, Rich, the president is calling him Mini Mike.
Before we run out of time,
I've said that he doesn't reach the clown's hand.
Before we run out of time, I have to take advantage of your expertise and your experience in Jersey politics. You were, as John mentioned, a former aide to Governor Christie. He apparently was integral in getting the Republican running against Congressman Jeff Van Drew to withdraw from the Republican primary against him and switch to another race. The president's in New Jersey today. Apparently about 80,000 people wanted tickets. They only had 7,500 to give away. Do you think a rally like this actually has an impact both for the congressional candidate there, Jeff Van Drew, and maybe even for turning all of New Jersey into the Trump column?
Yeah, I wouldn't jump the ship and say turning Jersey red just yet, but I will say Van Drew and that district down there, absolutely. When MacArthur was there, it's a winnable district, and I think the president, just the fact that he's in New Jersey, says a lot about the change in the tide of politics here on the East Coast.
So, Rich, in our final minutes here, have you made any forward movement in possibly announcing formally your candidacy to run against Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
Well, the reality is that we have to not only beat her, it's more than her, it's more than a candidate, it's an ideology. So tomorrow, Thursday night, we're having a special town hall podcast of This Is America, where we're going to be meeting with Hispanic conservatives and Hispanic voters from all over the tri-state area to discuss just that.
Well, we're going to try to be there, cover it. You're always there for us. Thank you very much. You got to tune in. You got to tune in to the This Is America podcast, because this guy is a superstar, and he's in touch with all communities and all people. And I will continue to try to compel him to make AOC bartend again. We have a serious show coming at you today. We got some live impeachment coverage. We got all that and more coming at you. Pop open a cold one. Have a Corona in celebration of the coronavirus. And take a quick break. More Liquid Lunch for you right after this.